As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster. Kicking around back home, my best gal Kale and I were always getting in scraps. Never hurt nobody, at least not too bad. Just looking for a good fight's all. Well, the folks in charge back on Sadala didn't much care for that attitude, so they kicked us out in the asses. Kale and I ended up on this here rube ball they call Earth. But we made it work, you know? Moved to the Big Apple. Town so nice I named it twice. New York, baby! Fit right in that melting pot. And fuck me, there was always a fight. Found me a nice little borough to make a move on, and took over for some goon called himself Blockbuster, if you can believe that. Kale and I busted his blocks, if you catch my drift. Bada bing, bada boom, ever since we've been raking in dough hand over fist. Settled down, moved in above a bar, and things were a gas for a while. Till some knucklehead named Kakarot popped up in my john. Thought he was his souse the way he kept gabbing on. But boy could he fight. And I could tell he was a Saiyan too. Before Kale and I set him packing back home, he showed off a trick. Made him light up brighter than the tree at the Rockefeller Square. Called it Super Saiyan. And you could bet your ass, your bottom dollar, and everything else you own that me and Kale are gonna figure it out.
Right. So, if you don't mind, I'll be taking over the narration again.
Yeah, blow it out your ass, you uptight, stiff-lipped redcoat.
Uh-huh. The process to get Kakarot Kent home was an adventure all of its own. But as this new friend prepared to leave back to his own universe, there was a bittersweet goodbye.
I'll see you around, fella. Just you wait. Me and Kale are gonna have that Super Saiyan thing figured out faster than a cop runs into a donut shop first thing in the morning.
If you think we can, Caulifla.
I bet you will! Till next time!
And with that, Kakarot Kent vanished from Earth 49. The new friends he left behind looked on as the dimensional bridge faded, only to be replaced by a glowing green light moving in from the distance. Before they realized it, standing before the two girls was a green lantern.
Hello, my name is Kaba, Green Lantern of Sector 2813. I'm looking after your sector for my friend, and my ring alerted me to some very strange readings in this area. Have you two seen anything out of the ordinary?
Get the out of here. First we gotta deal with the multiverse's strongest hick, and now this space cop and his jamming shows up.
The Green Lantern Corps is much more than a police force, especially as you'd understand them on such a primitive world.
Primitive, I understand just fine. Ain't the first time I've heard of a Green Lantern. Copper, whatever your name was. Folks on Sadala love Green Lanterns like Italians love the Pope.
Wait. You're Saiyans too?
Well, I guess you could say that.
You gotta be yanking my damn chain. You're a Saiyan?
Yeah.
What is this shit? King gonna crawl at your ass next to? Could this take it any more complicated?
As if on cue, a car came hurtling through the air towards the gathered Saiyans. Luckily, Kaba was able to use his constructs to shield the trio. They looked past the Emerald Barrier and down the block to see a gang moving towards them, led by a massive screeching boar. Atop this creature stood a large man with dark skin, but he was so covered in tattoos that you'd be hard-pressed to see much bare skin at all. A hail of bullets rang out at the barrier as the gang, following the boar, opened fire on the Saiyans. Suddenly, a man yelled for them to stop as he came forward from behind the gang.
Hey Toots, I said I'd run you out, and here I am. Don't give a damn how strong you and another freak broad are. Got me an ace in the hole this time. Introducing the tattooed man, U.S. Marine Mark Richards. Back home from a tour dealing with your Japanese friends. So come on now, sweetheart.
Lucky Luciano, you fat-headed jerk!
Heh. Now this is more like it. Listen up, Lucky. You apologize for entering my turf, trying to kill me, and turn around right now. And I'll be nice.
Bum full of lead.
I was hoping you'd say that.
The gang erupted into a hailstorm of bullets. The tattooed man charged atop his boar and broke through Kaba's shield construct. Silently, Kale jumped into the air to meet him. In one swift hit to the chest, she knocked the rider from his boar. But then, something strange happened. The boar shrunk down and returned to the tattooed man's foot, appearing as nothing more than ink. Meanwhile, Caulifla and Kaba took cover behind some nearby cars. Caulifla checked the barrel of her machine gun and then popped up to return fire. For a moment, Kaba wondered why she would bother with such a primitive weapon when she should be able to fire energy blasts. But the look of glee on her face said it all. The gun was to make things fair. This was a lot more fun for her. But Caulifla's fun ended abruptly when she noticed Kale come crashing to the ground in front of her. She looked up into the sky and saw the Marine. He had seemingly grown angel wings and was holding a large archaic cannon in his hands. But the worst part was the smile on his face as he lightly floated to the ground, his wings morphing into his back, fading from feathers to ink.
Can't believe I got brought in for this. Supposed to be back east, cracking bunkers, and yet my art's being wasted working for one crook to take out another. Funny how old Uncle Sam sees fit to direct my services.
Listen up, you inked up ingrate. You hurt my gal, so now you're dead. That's just the way it's gotta be.
Lady, you sure got a big mouth. Think I'll save room for the two of you. Somewhere I can make you dance.
Caulifla flew directly at Richards. The Marine was ready for her though. He flexed his bicep, and another cannon formed from the ink on his arm. The two ship guns blasted at the charging Saiyan with more power than the real things could ever hope to possess. While the creations of Mark Richards' tattoos appeared as the objects they were based on, they had a magical energy fueling them, allowing the creations of ink to match the raw strength of the Saiyans. While Caulifla traded blasts with Richards, Kaba made a barrier around himself and Kale. He then constructed a tentacled creature he'd encountered in deep space that got to work on disarming the rival gang. While the Green Lantern wasn't overly happy about being caught in the middle of the fight, he would just have to sort that out sometime down the line. Caulifla was finally pushing the tattooed man back, able to outmaneuver him in the air and getting close for some quick but painful jabs. Just as the gangster was getting confident in her ability to close out the fight, Richards pulled his trump card. The twin cannons faded back to ink, and then the battleship on his chest morphed into reality. For a moment, a full-sized Navy battleship floated in the air above a street in New York's boroughs, and then it came crashing down to the sea of pavement. Waves of clouds kicked up into the city air as the pavement turned to dust on impact, and everyone below the ship was crushed by its weight, including Lucky Luciano, who had been taking cover from all the action. The man who put the organize in organized crime was now dead in the streets of New York. Caulifla's eyes grew wide. Kale had been down there. But just as her mind began to buzz with all the awful things that could have happened, a glowing green drill emerged from the deck of the battleship. Like elevator doors, it opened, and Kaba and Kale stepped out into the air. Caulifla was so exhilarated, she couldn't help but mock the Marine.
You dope, you just killed your own boss. Guess I should be thanking you. Lucky was a real horse.
Ain't no one say Lucky was my boss. My boss just owed him a favor's all.
The battleship was more than just a hunk of metal. With it came an entire crew of ink soldiers who began attacking Kaba and Kale. And while she tried to get in close to help, the guns on the ship turned and began to fire at the gangster.
Caulifla needs our help!
With a jolt of speed, Kale grabbed the Green Lantern under one arm and flew off towards her girlfriend. Kaba was able to give them some cover from the ship's blasts as the girls started to form a plan.
Caulifla, I'm here to help. If you need it?
Good, I was worried sick, sugar.
Wait, Are you two,
What, us? No way, she's my sister. We're real close. Enough small talk, Kappa. That trinket on your finger packs a wallop. Whip it out and see if you can clobber old sailor boy down there.
Right. I should have enough power to take down someone like him.
Kaba dove toward the tattooed man and lit up the battleship with constructs of his own. Alien warriors from across the galaxy he'd fought with materialized and engaged the crew. Kaba, however, kept advancing toward the tattooed man, but he was blindsided by a sudden barrage from the thousands of artillery guns on the ship. They fired countless energy blasts and shot him clear across the sky. Kale gasped at the sight and flew over to go help. Caulifla couldn't help but protest as she followed. The two arrived to find Kaba out cold, and that's when Caulifla got an idea. The gangster saw the ring sitting on Kaba's limp hand, looking very pretty.
Hey, Kale, I got something cooking in my noggin.
Hey geeks, I hope you're enjoying the video, but if you really want to help support the channel, head on over to our Patreon and our Discord. Through Patreon, you can help support us directly and make sure that all the amazing artists and voice actors on the Geeks for Fun team are being supported as best as we can.
And did you know that an uncensored cut of Bombshells is available for patrons starting at $1?
But through Discord, you can get in contact with the rest of the community and even submit some of your own fan art. We love to see anything you guys bring to the table and bring our stories to life. With all of that said though, let's get back to the video. With an unneeded amount of force, the gangster pulled the ring off Kaba's finger and placed it on her own. She'd heard stories about Green Lanterns when growing up on Sadala, that they weren't afraid of anything. Well, she certainly qualified for that. In a burst of emerald energy, Caulifla soared off the ground. She'd heard stories about how difficult making constructs could be, but she was too stubborn for difficult. She kept it simple, and only tried to make something she had an emotional connection to. Out of sheer will, she formed a gigantic Tommy gun and an equally large set of brass knuckles.
Caulifla, don't you think that's a bit much?
Stand back, baby doll, I got a face to break.
Before Kale could stop her, the firecracker shot towards the battleship again. The Tommy gun construct made quick work of Richard's artillery guns, and her brass knuckles cleaned the clocks of the ship crew in no time. Soon, it was just Caulifla and the tattooed man standing on the deck.
Huh. I should have given you more credit. You're tougher than you look, String Bean.
Well, golly gee, thanks. But it looks like you just missed your last train. Can't imagine you got anything bigger than this tucked up your sleeve.
That ring in you must be a bad fit then. Imagination's important.
The battleship faded beneath them both. Caulifla realized that up and down his arm, there was a tattoo of a massive dragon. One that started to come to life. There was no time to do anything but defend herself as the growing jaws of the beast came hurtling towards her. She tried erecting a shield like Kaba had, but it was crushed in an instant. Her inexperience with the ring costed her badly. Luckily, Kale had arrived on the scene, and was able to move them both out of the way before the creature could swallow the pair whole.
Ah, this.
One last time, she willed the ring to make something for her, and out of thin air, materialized a Cadillac around the two Saiyans. Kale wasn't sure what was going on, but fell back in her seat as Caulifla slammed on the gas pedal. The construct shot off into the air, and before Richards could tell what had happened, it was already on the horizon.
What are we doing?
Listen, I don't like running from a fight. But I did some thinking, and I swear a light bulb just kicked on in my head. We got this ring off of Kappa, right? It can get us anywhere in the universe. Now we don't gotta stick around in this mud bowl.
We don't?
That's right, sky's the limit, sugar.
But what about my plants? I can't leave those.
Could even go home. Can you imagine the look on their faces when the two of us show back up on Sadala? It'll be priceless.
But Sadala isn't home anymore! New York is! Our friends are back there! We can't just run away because things are tough. When we took over from Blockbuster, you told people that things would be better. We need to be there for our neighbors. The cops aren't going to take care of them. Lucky might have died, but what if someone worse takes over? Our home needs us.
The car stopped. It was simply floating in the air. Caulifla looked at her girlfriend in shock. Kale rarely had an outburst like that. And when she did, it was because someone pissed her off. Caulifla would kick the head in of anyone who did that. But now Kale's anger was aimed at herself. Suddenly, everything she'd just been saying and thinking faded away. Caulifla looked into Kale's eyes.
Kale, you know why I love you. You're so strong. I don't just mean your guns. You're stronger than I could ever be.
Kale took Caulifla's hand and smiled.
I'm strong because I have you. We're strong together.
Put us together and what do you get?
The strongest Saiyans around.
The Cadillac whipped around in midair and started picking up speed as it headed back to Richards. The tattooed man looked up at the appearing car and smiled. This was not an attack with stealth in mind. Caulifla was hanging out of the window of the car and firing her own Tommy gun. But this time, she channeled her ki through the bullets to increase their impact power, all while Kale was holding the steering wheel and blaring on the horn. The girls jumped from the construct as it crashed against the dragon's head. The car exploded into a burst of energy. Unfortunately, it did little damage in the process. The dragon roared and began to circle the couple in a wall of flame. This time, however, Caulifla and Kale arrived together. Their mistake had been that they'd each kept trying to take on the tattooed man alone.
How could I have been so dense? To think a silly little ring could be more help than my gal.
From now on, we battle as a team.
The two Saiyans rushed at the tattooed man. His dragons moved to defend immediately. However, Kale quickly fired green beams of energy that hit the beast with more force than it could tank. Kale diverted course, but kept the pressure up on the dragon, forcing it to chase her down in order to end the assault. This allowed Caulifla the opportunity to get in close and engage Richards head to head. He quickly manifested the cannons from his arms again. He fired rapid blasts at Caulifla as she closed in. To dodge them would have been child's play for the Saiyan, but she instead decided to block. A choice that helped prove her theory almost instantly. Caulifla smirked and shot up off the ground high into the air.
Rush cannon!
A barrage of red energy blasts shot down at Richards. He moved and dodged as best he could, but being on the ground while she was airborne left him an easy target. Richards unleashed his tattoo of angel wings and flew up to meet Caulifla in the air. Kale, on the other hand, was making progress on the dragon. It was beginning to weaken noticeably. A green blast from the Saiyan severed one of its many arms. As the limb detached, it simply smeared away into nothing. The duo was making progress now. Caulifla saw the dragon faltering out of the corner of her eye. She grinned at the prospect. Everything she predicted was right. Now, she could move in and end this fight.
You wanna know where you f***ed up? Your ink blots sure do pack a wallop. But if you could, you'd use the big ones at the same time. Having to keep that overgrown lizard out to deal with my gal while you're fighting me? You can't keep it up. Don't feel bad. No fella can handle me and Kale.
And with that devastating blow out of the way, Caulifla ended the fight in a burst of speed, appearing inches from Richard's face and introducing her knee to his grill. The tattooed man's ink creatures faded from the world in an instant, as he lost consciousness from the pain. He fell from the air like a stone, and just as he was about to hit the pavement, Kaba swooped in to catch him. Caulifla was about to get annoyed, but decided she'd rather jump Kale with a deep kiss, making the shy Saiyan nearly faint from embarrassment. The two went back to their bar to celebrate another fight won. They even let Kaba tag along, mostly because they couldn't get him to shut up about getting his ring back. The day had certainly been more exciting than anyone had predicted. First, a strange visitor from another universe, then a gang battle in the streets.
I appreciate the help, but I really do need my ring back. You're not even using it now.
I ain't really interested in its power, not my style. But I'm feeling the aesthetic. You wanna come and take it?
Well, what's the harm in waiting a little while longer?
You know, Kale, with Lucky taking a dirt nap, his turf will be up for grabs. I'm thinking about expansion.
That sounds nice. We could always use more neighbors. But I'm a little worried. That tattoo guy said he was working for someone else.
Ah, who cares? Whatever honcho he worked for, we can take him together. That reminds me, I had something I wanted to ask you. Been wanting to for a while, and this ring did kind of fall in my lap, so...
Mark Richards was one of my best operatives, and you two just kicked him into next week. So congratulations, you just became Bombshells.
Who the is this bitch?
Hey, it's me, Kakarot. Training has been going pretty well on the farm, but I wonder what Vegeta's been up to. Whoa! Looks like he and Wonder Woman are headed to Lex's new house! I hope I don't miss a good fight! Next time on Dragon Ball DC, the Doom Saga continues. Don't miss it!